Hello everyone, it's Mark. I am the Sanderson Collector, and this is the first Wildcard week of the year, and I'm going to be showing you some books. Some of them are Sanderson, some of them are not. They're not like specifically collectible Sanderson books, but they're cool in their own way. I'm only probably going to get through about half of them today, but I can show you the rest of them some other time, and I also have a couple of like little news things to take care of before we get started. So first thing on the news, you probably noticed this the past two videos. I was just too excited to actually say anything about it. I got new glasses. They are really cool and made of titanium and super light, and they're this neat blue color. They feel great. I love them. Most importantly, they're no longer falling off my head when I nod or, wave it to the side, so that's awesome. As far as the rest of the news goes, my regular beginning of the month informational video will go up next week. And maybe that week or the week after or something, I'm also going to have a giveaway coming. I've had a fan of the channel donate something for a giveaway, and it's going to be really cool, so be on the lookout for that. For those of you who haven't seen the article, there was an article on Tor.com a while back where someone got Patrick Rothfuss to sign a copy of The Way of Kings, and Brandon signed a copy of Name of the Wind. These are books that the other authors wrote, and they made silly little jabs at each other, and I thought this was really funny and cool. And so I have started doing something similar with other authors. I haven't actually tracked down Rothfuss himself yet to get this done, but I do track down other authors, get them to sign copies of Brandon's books, and then take that signature and whatever message they write to Brandon along with a copy of the other author's book and let him deface it. And it's always a lot of fun. And so we're going to start off today with the author who started it all, the guy who actually taught Brandon Sanderson in school, and that is David Farland. And he signed this copy of The Way of Kings. It says, "Brandon, great work, David Farland." Now, usually I ask the other authors to write, something silly or ridiculous or demeaning or whatever. Basically, I ask them to vandalize Brandon's books, and they usually do. You'll see that in some of the others. But David Farland is just like such a nice person, and he just straight up would not say anything mean. He's like, I'll write this in here. And Brandon looked at it and was like, yeah, that's Dave. And so I took a copy of David Farland's book, The Rune Lords, which is actually a really good book. If you haven't read it, the Rune Lords series has a really cool magic system about people gifting their abilities to others, and it takes the ability away from them. So like you give your speed to someone else and suddenly they can go almost twice as fast, but you're in a coma for however long that they have your power, and so they have to take care of you, and the people who rule the land have these endowments transferred from other people and have like mega powers and like, incredible strength and perfect memory and very, very fast and all this stuff. And so it's super cool. And anyway, so this copy of the Rune Lords is signed by Brandon, and he says, "Best magic ever." And so I thought that was really nice to see these two guys, Brandon's old teacher being so nice to him, and then Brandon being nice in response. Whereas, Brandon, when he taught the class, taught some guy named Brian McClellan. Here's a copy of Words of Radiance that I took to Brian McClellan and had him sign. And so Brian says, "Hey, look at me. I'm Brandon Sanderson. Right. And then he signed it. So he was poking fun at Brandon for writing, so many books so fast. And Brandon signed this copy of Crimson Campaign for me. And Brandon said, "Hey, look at me. I'm Brian. Beard. And signed it. And that's a reference to the fact that Brian McClellan has this huge, like, mountain man beard all the time. Brian's actually a super nice guy. I've been a beta reader for him as well. His books are really good. They're flintlock fantasy. One of the main magic systems in his books actually revolves around gunpowder and people who can set it off with their mind and shape the blast that comes out of that. And the first book in the series is Promise of Blood. If you haven't read them, I highly recommend them. You're going to notice that's a theme with a lot of the books that I'm actually going to talk about from the other authors. But anyway, Brian McClellan, student of Brandon Sanderson. It's even got a Sanderson quote on the cover. And so it was perfect to get him to countersign these copies. Now, when Brandon was in the writing class, he had a classmate by the name of James Dashner, who you might have heard of. And so I had James Dashner sign a copy as well. He signed this copy of Way of Kings, and he says, he crosses out Brandon's name and writes the word boo, as well as signing it. And so Brandon defaced this copy and says he learned it all from me, and crossed out the dash and wrote slow. So it's like James Slowner, because, you know, Brandon writes faster than everyone else. And then he signed it. So that was really funny too. The book is called The Maze Runner. They made a movie out of this series. They're very thrilling YA books. I enjoyed The Maze Runner, even if I didn't enjoy the sequels quite as much. So they're fun books, and it was really fun to get James Dashner to sign that for me. Another author who was breaking in at the same time that Brandon was is John Scalzi. There are some really awesome pictures out there of the two of them being arch nemeses and like dueling with their Hugo Awards and such really fun stuff. Anyway, so I met Scalzi a couple years ago and got him to sign a copy of a Sanderson book because, of course, they're nemesis, and he says, "Dear Brandon, I miss you tragically. Hugs and kisses." Signed, Scalzi. And so Brandon signed a copy of Red Shirts, which actually won the Hugo Award for Best Novel a couple of years ago. And I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to mean. Maybe it's an in reference between the two of them. It says, "Dear John, sorry to hear about your tragic spelunking accident. Brandon." So honestly, I don't understand what is going on with these two, but they've obviously got a lot of in references with each other, and they're good friends while also being nemesis. It's really fun to watch them. And the last person I had sign a Sanderson book was Obliteration. Obliteration's description in the Reckoner series was directly based on the author Jim Butcher, with the flowing hair and the way he just kind of holds himself and walks around. So Brandon wrote Jim Butcher in as a villain in one of his books, and so I had Jim Butcher sign the book that Brandon wrote him in as a villain, and so Jim Butcher took it and drew a pair of glasses on Brandon's name and then scratched out his last name and changed it so that it says nerd, and he had a lot of fun doing it. So that was really cool to get him to do that. And Jim Butcher's first book is called Stormfront. The Dresden Files is a very highly recommended series from a lot of people. I have the whole series on my shelf. I've been meaning to read them forever. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm sure that I'm going to love them from all the things that I've heard from a lot of people that I respect who really like the series. What Brandon said in this one is, "Jim, my character, based on you, looks more like you than you do. What's up, Brandon?" That's about half of the books that I have countersigned. I guess I'm going to show you the other half in another episode. Maybe next time I have a wild card or feel like putting out an extra episode, I'll go ahead and show you those. I'm also always looking to get more of these done. I'm actually going to JordanCon in a couple weeks, and I'm going to meet Brent Weeks for the first time, which I'm really excited about. Probably going to get him to sign a copy of one of Brandon's books. Maybe I'll get some of the other authors to do that as well, and then keep those until the next time I see Brandon, which will probably be in November, December timeframe when Starsight comes out. So anyway, that's my plans for the countersigned books, and they're a lot of fun. If you want to see any of the inscriptions closer or missed anything, go ahead and let me know and I can send you pictures. And if you have questions about anything, as always, leave those in the comments, and I'll be back next week with my informational video and all the stuff like that. So I hope you all have a good week and happy collecting.